Yeah, water is the single most important nutrient that you could take in. I mean, Hippocrates, Health Institute, Gerson, True North, McDougall's thing. I mean, these guys are top level in the field for health restoration, and they have
Right.
your product.
Yeah. And they, they do their own research. They all came to us seeking us out.
Okay, good. We start another episode. God, that sounds like a 1940s thing. Okay, our special guest today is Courtney Lawyer, Vice President of Pure and Secure, the leading manufacturer of premium water distillers. You've got some great sites too. Their mission is to educate on the vital importance of consuming fresh water, fresh distilled water. And it literally is the single most effective way. And you're going to learn a lot about distilled water. Now, hi. Welcome.
Hi there. Thank you for having me on.
Can you share your story about becoming the vice president of Pure Water?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share this, what I think is very valuable information with your audience. So this is a family business. My father purchased it in 1984 from the founding family. We're pioneers in this industry. We held the first patent for a stainless steel household distiller. So I grew up with a great understanding of water contamination and the importance of purifying water. I was probably the only kid who explained the hydrologic cycle at my science fair for my project. And I'm pretty sure I was the only college student to have a distiller in their dorm, a water distiller anyway. Who knows what other kinds might have been there, but I heard testimonials of people feeling better once they had distillers and started drinking the pure water. They were able to go off their medication. Their illnesses improved, whether it was arthritis. Some reported, vision improvements. And we have to be careful. We obviously can't make medical claims, but it does make sense if you're not consuming all these toxins in your water, that you would lead a healthier life. So I just grew up with this innate desire to help people be healthy.
If anybody's curious, Dr. Batman Gunji wrote the book "Water Cures, Drugs Kill." Because in our world, you can't. What'd you say? Make health claims, even though it's fact. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I saw you smile at that comment.
Oh God, yeah. It's so irritating. That's why we have a censored portion that can get on, and hopefully it can get by most of the censors, and then the regular part that we could really talk about. Okay, now water quality. It's hugely important. Now, how essential is it to life? And I like the universal solvent. Explain that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, water is truly amazing. It is essential to all life on Earth. It is involved in every function of our body, whether it's respiration or digestion or the excretory system. It's involved in every cell of our body. So it is very, very vital that we get enough water in our daily intake. But the other thing is the quality of water. Because it is a universal solvent, it means that things readily dissolve in it. So therefore, it is easily contaminated. Water, if you think about it, is just H2O. And the only difference in ocean water, which is very contaminated, we can't drink it, tap water, or bottled water, the only difference between these different types of water are the contaminants in it. So that's something key to understand. Water is simply H2O.
And the biggest thing, I mean, when I was growing up, you could drink out of the hose. And they just came out with some major revelations that fluoride is actually damages the brain and a number of other things. What type of contaminants can be found in the water? And I know that, 500 miles either side of the Mississippi is called a cancer belt. And so these toxins got to be getting into the human being through some way. And if it's more likely water. So what are the health risks and concern of the type of contaminants that could be found?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's 4 main categories of contaminants. You'll be familiar with them as I explain it. There's inorganics, which are typically your heavy metals, things like lead and arsenic, also nitrates. There's organic, which are petroleum-based contaminants. So these are more pesticides, herbicides, your glyphosate, solvents, chloramines, which is typically used to help clean the water. You also have biological contaminants, bacteria, viruses, and even radioactive. So what we saw happen with Fukushima, that certainly got into the oceans and came across to the U.S., and that is found in our water supply. There's also a lot of naturally occurring uranium in the nation's water. So, lots of things to be concerned about. I know something that Dr. Diane Kaiser mentioned recently are the PFAS, and that's coming up a lot in the news. So they're found in products like nonstick pans and workout wear, water repellent clothing and firefighting foam. These are called forever chemicals for a reason. They will accumulate in our environment and in our bodies, and we're going to have a hard time getting rid of them. But that exposure is linked to cancer and thyroid disease and decreased fertility. There are a lot of issues that come with that. And it's been suggested that they are now found in 98% of the U.S. population has PFAS in their bodies. So big concern.
Yeah, and you figure your body is 70% water, the planet's 70% water. And if that water has toxins, you're not going to have it. I mean, you're going to end up with a population. What do we have? Nearly 50% cancer rates. Okay, so it's not a disease attacking you, it's your body adapting. Now, there's a number of different treatment methods. Can you describe like barrier treatment methods, distillation, the hydrologic cycle? What are some of the features?
Yeah, so everyone's familiar with filters. They are generally made of carbon, or they're a membrane. So a good example is a Brita pitcher filter, and the carbon does a good job of absorbing VOCs, things that have a taste or a smell. So you could put your water through that, and the product water coming out may not smell or taste like your tap water, and you think you're doing a good job getting rid of the contamination. But if you think about it, filters are only as good as the first day you use that. From day one, their effectiveness starts to decline. They start to deteriorate. That's why filters need replacing. So it's while it will trap certain contaminants, it lets other contaminants through. And another method, reverse osmosis, which is a bit more sophisticated as far as it is a series of filters and membranes, and the water is pumped through under pressure. So this does a better job of removing contaminants, but it still allows other things to get through. And something to note, FEMA and the American Red Cross They do not recommend filters of any kind in an emergency water situation. So if you have earthquakes and your water lines and sewage lines, the mains have they've broken and they could mix. A filter would not be a good solution in that case. You could certainly get biological contamination, which can make you very ill. So what are we to do? We decided to take a look at nature and how does the earth purify water? We've had water here on earth for millions of years, and somehow it has been purified this whole time. Well, that's through the hydrologic cycle. So this is where the sun, which is our heat source, heats up water in lakes and rivers in the ocean. Ocean is extremely contaminated, 35,000 parts per million. And it heats the water to the point where it starts to evaporate. And what's happening there is the H2O molecules are starting to separate and leave the contaminants behind. And it's the H2O molecules that rise and condense, start to form the clouds, and then come down as rain. And of course, we know if we didn't have air pollution, that rainwater would be pure water to drink. Well, this is what we do inside a distiller. So we will, you fill it with tap or well water, doesn't matter. We bring it through a prolonged heating process, which does kill anything biological, and it leaves contaminants behind, things like lead, for example. Lead has a boiling point of thousands of degrees. It's not going to evaporate with H2O molecules. It's going to stay behind. And so the steam rises up. We condense that in a condensing coil with a fan, and that starts to come down as pure distilled water. Now, there is an additional process that we do here. We do add a carbon filter at the end because, as I said before, the carbon does a really good job of absorbing those gaseous contaminants. So anything that has a boiling point that's close to that of water, we want to make sure and get rid of that as well. So it's it's an amazing process. And because it's a physical phase change, it's a scientific process, it happens every single time your distiller is running. There's no question about, is my filter going to do its job today? Is my distiller going to work properly? Well, yes, it will purify the water just as it did, on day one, and then 20 years down the road. It's pretty amazing.
It's a fancier version of the planet. Rainwater is distilled water. If we didn't have particulate matter in the atmosphere, then we'd have perfect distilled water falling on us.
Right.
And you're taking care of that with the extra carbon. Brilliant. Okay, now tons of myths on distilled water. Okay, about osmotic pressure, especially minerals. Can you delve into that?
Sure. That is probably one of the most common questions we get. Well, what about the minerals, the calcium, the magnesium I'm supposed to get from my water? Well, minerals found in water are actually of the rock form. They're inorganic. They would not provide nourishment for humans. Plants, however, can take minerals from the soil and from water, and they convert those minerals through photosynthesis into organic minerals that we can use for nourishment. And that's why, we really encourage people to get their minerals from their diet. If you can't, there are supplements out there. You want to make sure and get good ones. And I know you know of some good ones there, Dr. Bergman.
Oh, yeah. You've got, without minerals, you can't utilize vitamins. And when you're in a stressed state, you produce less stomach acid, so you can't get minerals. And when you're talking the majority of mineral supplements that you're going to get at the big stores, It's like iron ore or ground up seashells. You need nutrient rich soil that the plant draws out, and you need like 125 different minerals. But you need nutrient rich soil in order to produce it. This is why sea plant minerals are so vital. Now, I love this. Your professional thoughts on popular trend of drinking alkalinized water.
Well,
Professional. Yes, but yeah.
I will say that we believe that purity is priority. So that is our mission in what we do. Alkaline water actually has impurities in it. In fact, it has to be contaminated in order to ionize. That's just the process that it is. But so from our standpoint, it's not pure. Also, when you're looking at a higher pH environment, bacteria can not only survive, but they thrive. So if your water has an expiration of 2 to 3 days, which is what I've heard that the alkaline systems are, something's wrong there. Your water should not expire in 2 to 3 days. So we try and emphasize purity being priority. Distill the water. If you do want a higher pH for some reason, you can use a pinch of baking soda and it would raise the pH if that was a concern. So same with the minerals. Purify the water the best you can, which is distilling it. And then if you want to add trace minerals back in, by all means. But it's really important to keep those toxins out of your water.
And you've got to understand, I mean, your pH is going to naturally be balanced. If you eat a whole bunch of processed acidic foods, if you're not respirating, I mean, you've got the respiration, perspiration, pooping and peeping. If you've got constipation, poor sleep patterns, your system will become acidic. And then the body is going to go to the bone bank to alkalinize it, to withdraw the calcium. So the diet, I just got rid of carbon dioxide, which is an acid. So there's a lot of ways to alkalinize. And I'm equally, I'm not a big fan of those little machines that alkalinize because they don't have good pre-filters. I mean, you got fluoride and chlorine and drugs and stuff in the water, and then it alkalinizes it, but I'm not a big fan. No. Now, your company's history. So I looked up your company. And I thought, oh, cool, you guys have been in business 50 years. Then I saw your picture and I thought, she ain't old enough.
Yeah, I was about 5 when we got it from the founding family. So we're very proud of what we do. My father, my brothers, we've all traveled around the world educating on water quality, trying to find solutions for a lot of water contamination issues out there. We work with the Department of State for the U.S. embassies. Now they know that they need distillers for their employees and their families to protect them from any intentional contamination of the water supply or unintentional. So they know that distillation is the way to get pure and secure water. And that's where that name came from. It's biologically secure. So
pure and secure. I love that. That's appropriate. And then I know, I mean, Hippocrates, Health Institute, Gerson, True North, McDougall's thing. I mean, these guys are top level in the field for health restoration. And they have your product. Yeah.
And they do their own research. They all came to us seeking us out as, a company to work with and a water product to promote. So, it wasn't a paid arrangement where we were trying to get them involved in any way. They came to us. In fact, Dr. Brian Clement of Hippocrates, he's had a distiller for, it was over 40 years. He actually just replaced it recently, but he said it was the single most investment best investment he's ever made. And I think we fixed that distiller up, and he's given it to one of his adult children, and he got a new one for himself. So very, very happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Water is the single most important nutrient that you could take in. We always talk about 50% of your body weight in ounces a day, but all of the things, and that's minimum. Look at the color of the urine. It's just, but the quality of the water that you put in the system is so vital for every physiologic process, everything. This is why like fatigue in the afternoon, it's typically dehydration. Hunger in the afternoon, typically dehydration. Now, how can people connect with you? Because I mean, water, you're in embassies around the world, massive health institutes that I respect use your product, and we need water, and we can't get clear water. I mean, pure and secure, brilliant name. How can they follow you?
Yeah, and something you just said reminded me, which we didn't touch on yet, but so it is very important to purify the water in your own home, because although the EPA does have standards for drinking water, they're on about 90, just over 90 contaminants that they require municipalities to test for. And of those contaminants, there are safe and allowable levels. So that's saying that there is, yes, we see lead in your water, but it's a safe and allowable level of lead. Same with mercury and arsenic and nitrates and all of these things where it's just mind blowing. I don't want to consume any amount of arsenic, and I don't want that for my children either. So that's something just to be aware of. Even though they say it's safe to consume, that means it's passing their tests. Well, that's also only 90 some tests. What about the thousands of chemicals that are out there? In fact, they're up to, I read in the Chemical Society that we have over 350,000 chemicals in use today. 350,000 chemicals that could be getting in our water very, very easily, likely are. And who's to say what happens when they combine, when this chemical and this chemical and this all combine? I mean, who knows what could be happening and what kind of chemical mixture or cocktail you create. So, those are things to be very aware of. And even though it is treated at the water treatment plant, it still has to find its way to your house. So especially if you're on the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, you have the piping infrastructure that's lead. I mean, that's terrible. So these are things to be aware of. It is very, very important to purify your own water in your own home. If you want to learn more, our website is mypurewater.com. And I believe we have a discount code for you and your audience, Dr. B, Dr. B VIP, to get a discount on your purchase.
And when you look at, you cannot trust the water like Desanti water and all of those packaged waters. They do not go through the same filtration process. Even if they did, then they package it in plastic, which can leach forever chemicals in the water. So
exactly,
it's mind-blowingly insane. So when you get the system and knowing that water is 70% of your body, it's one of the most important nutrients you have, or that you can get, that you need. Building your own is the best. We advocate growing your own food. Protecting your own water source is smart.
Right up there with it. Yeah.
I mean, you figure all of these people, the military things that they're doing in hot climates, and they're having this water sit outside in plastic. It's poisoning our soldiers. It's poisoning the people. Yeah. Get the link below. Do your research and get on Courtney's site. And it's one of the best products I've seen out there. It's like Hippocrates Institute had what he said. It's the best investment you can do. Investing in yourself is the best investment.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Gosh, thank you so much, Dr. B.
Hun, it's been a pleasure meeting you, and thank you. Give your family a hug. They did good. Okay, they started a business that's helped making a difference.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, my dear. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.